Hello, sports fans, and welcome back for another edition of the Epic Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Taylor, along with my co-host,
Zach Conbest.
And today we're going to get into a little bit of everything, kind of get you guys caught up. So, first and foremost, EKU football team, been looking good. Big game on the horizon this weekend. What do you got on that, Zach?
They do. They have a big game against Jacksonville State, number 8 seed in the country. So it'll be a great game. Saturday at 4 o'clock at home.
It is. And like you said, number 8 team in the nation. They have indeed won 34 straight OVC conference games. Big game for the Colonels here. They are the best rushing defense in the OVC, only giving up 78.5 rushing yards per game against the Colonels, who have the top rushing offense of 297.8 rushing yards per game. So big matchup in the trenches there. Just some interesting stats. Against Jacksonville State, the Colonels, all time, we are 9-6 against them. Here at home, 3-4. But the Colonels are undefeated on the season at home. Last year against Jacksonville State down in Jacksonville, we scored 25, which was the most points that Jacksonville State gave up to an FCS opponent all season. So, big game, indeed. A game that obviously we showed, that our offense was doing things against Jacksonville State last year. We're much improved this season, so a winnable game. Everybody got to get out there and support the Colonels this weekend. Huge game, kind of a measuring stick game, if you will. If we can pull this one out at home, there's great potential moving forward in the season into the rest of OVC play.
And talking about our running game, too, Darryl McCluskey Jr. ranks second in the OVC in rushing yards with 100 yards per game. So definitely a person to watch out for, and especially against that Jacksonville State defense, number 1 in the OVC in rush defense. So it'll be a battle between them two. Indeed
it will. And like you said, getting those rushing yards is going to be key for us. Our passing game hasn't really came along, so we're definitely going to want to I know Coach was on with us last week, and we talked about getting more balanced. But with the passing game not being as great, if you will, as our rushing game, we definitely want to get out early and be able to control the tempo and be able to run the ball against this defense. Just another stat, in the 6 games that we have beat Jacksonville State all time, in those 6 games, the Colonels, we have scored at least 31 points in all of those victories. So we definitely don't want to get into a game where we have to pass the ball. I feel the key to win this game is either going to be to obviously control the tempo and run the ball, be able to run the ball against this defense, and either win like a low-scoring defensive contest or just be able to run the ball down their throat and keep scoring at will. Just speaking on that defense, we have 4 interceptions in the last game. I know our pass defense with 8 interceptions on the season, one of the top passing defenses. So we definitely want to control the tempo, run it down their throat, get up on them early, and then use that good pass defense to try to keep them out of the end zone.
And like you said, that defense, EKU's defense ranks 4th in the country in interceptions. So definitely an area to watch out for in the game.
Indeed. So get out there. 4 o'clock, the tailgate will start soon before that. So students, get out there, get your mojo going, get the blood pumping, get out there to support the Colonels and hopefully get a big win on the season and hopefully, put us up. I would guess that if we win this game, we'll be in first in the OVC definitely moving forward. Mm-hmm. So it would be our conference to lose at that point. And so definitely want to get out there and support the Colonels this weekend. Moving forward, we also, this week, we had an interview on Wednesday. The soccer team, we had junior soccer player Aaron Torrance in with us. Zach, you conducted that interview. Aaron came in and talked about a huge win that the Colonels had on Tuesday. Double overtime against in-state rival Morehead State. So you conducted that interview with Aaron?
It was good. Yep. They won, like you said, against Morehead State 4-3. And Aaron had a big part in that game. She had 2 goals and 1 assist in the game. So here's the interview we had with Aaron Torrance. Aaron, thank you for joining me. Being an Ohio native, what made you choose EKU for your college soccer career?
Well, when I was looking for colleges to attend, I knew that I wanted to play soccer, obviously, and I had already figured out that I wanted to do occupational therapy. So I was looking for a school that had good OT. So I got an email from EKU, and it worked out perfectly because they have such a great OT program here. And it's not too far from home. It's only 6 hours, so it's a good distance where I don't go home all the time, but my parents are also able to come to a lot of the games.
So the team's first exhibition game and first regular season game were both in Ohio. What was it like playing back in your home state?
I really didn't notice that much of a difference. Cincinnati, they're such a good soccer program, and their field is really incredible. My sister actually goes to UC, so she came with some of her friends. So it was nice having fans because my sister's not able to make it to a lot of the games. But we really don't notice, where we're playing or who we're playing against.
Yeah, that's cool. So tell me about the main difference and similarities between Richmond and your hometown of Hudson, Ohio.
Well, there's a lot. They're very different. Well, it's very southern down here. I'm still getting used to all the accents of people. And in Hudson, it's a very small town, which is sort of like Richmond. And there's not, a whole lot to do necessarily. You have to go to the surrounding cities to do something, exciting and fun, which is a lot like how it is in Hudson. But for being here for 3 years, I feel like it's, I'm comfortable here, as comfortable as I am at home, because I've only lived in Hudson for 6 years.
So how is the team's chemistry so far?
I think we're definitely, through each game, we're finding ourselves more and more. We're working together better through each game. We've improved significantly since the beginning of the season because I think our coaches do a really great job of determining what our weaknesses is for each game, and then we spend the week at practice focusing on that weakness. So I think our chemistry is really high. I think after our game yesterday, we've been struggling a little bit offensively, trying to find the goals, and we got 4 yesterday, which is a lot more than we have in the past few games. So I think we're definitely starting to click now.
And in that game yesterday, you had 2 goals and 1 assist in the double overtime victory over rival Moorhead. Mm-hmm. Probably feels pretty awesome. How did that feel, and what was working for the team?
I think we came out really strong. We lost our season opener in the OVC, and then we tied our next 2. So it really wasn't necessarily going how, we wanted. Of course, we want victories every game. And, playing against our rival, everyone wants a rival victory. So there's a lot of emotion in the game. And we just came out, knowing what we needed to do. And, we were clicking everywhere. We played our style of soccer, and it showed.
And in all the games so far, you've been able to score a bunch, and what kind of keys were to your success in scoring?
I think I get a lot of great passes because I play center forward. I'm more of the finisher than the creator sometimes. Just from the games yesterday, I got a great pass from ID, and I just had to turn a goal and score, and then the other goal I scored was a perfect pass from Monica. I'm pretty sure we locked eye contact across the field, and she played a perfect ball into me. So I just get on the end of a lot of really good balls for my teammates.
That's awesome. So in your opinion, what ways does this team need to improve until the end of the season?
I think we need to be able to put a whole game together because we're really great in the first half, we feel. We play our style. We, try to take it to them at the beginning of the game. But then I think coming to the second half, I think we need to improve on just staying focused for the whole 90 minutes because it is a really long game. And just continuing to play our style even when we get tired and, fatigued after the 90 minutes.
So the next game is a winnable one against Austin Peay that can potentially move you guys up in the OVC standings. Mm-hmm. So in what ways will you be looking to kind of exploit the Governor's, team and their defense?
Well, from the years past, they are a really strong team, and I believe last year we tied them. So I think a key we've had recently to pre-games is just playing our style because if we match the other team's style, we're not used to playing like that, and then it's just sometimes it turns into kickball where we're just kicking it back and forth. But if we play the style that we know we can and just keep possession and play the way that we're great at, then I know that we'll find some success on Friday.
There you go. And last question, what are you looking forward to? What are you most excited about for us this season?
I think a goal that I'm really excited about, I know the whole team has, is finally making it to that NCAA game because for the past 2 years we've, got second in the championship. So we're so close each time. And last year we lost in overtime, so we were so close. And it was really frustrating to lose then because we were, extremely close to our goal. And I know that's something we're really looking forward to, finally making our first ever in the EKU soccer history of the NCAA.
That's awesome. Well, good luck, and go support the Colonels.
Yes.
So thank you for joining me, and good luck.
Thank you.
All right, and welcome back in studio with me and Zach here on the Epic Sports Podcast. That interview with Aaron, just to go over some stuff, basically like an overview of the season for soccer. The team on the season is now 5-2, so 5 wins, 5 losses, 2 ties. Just that big win, like we said, on Tuesday against Morehead State in double overtime. In OVC play, the team is now 1-1-2.
Yep.
So 1 win, 1 loss, 2 ties in OVC play. Got some big games coming up. Going to be in Tennessee this weekend. There will be the Colonels will go to Austin Peay in Clarksville, Tennessee. That will be on Friday. And then on Sunday, they'll play at Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee, before coming back home next weekend. So definitely Jacksonville State next Friday, and then Tennessee Tech on next Sunday. So get out there and support the Colonels soccer team. Hopefully we can get some wins this weekend. I know that Austin Peay, we get a win there. Just looked at the standings earlier in the week, and we were last in the conference because it was before the Morehead State game. But that win, if we can get another win against Morehead State, it'll move us up to around the middle of the conference. So definitely some potential. Definitely want to get some momentum this weekend in Tennessee, and then get out there and support them when they come home so we can compete for OVC championship as well.
And like Aaron said in the interview, the team's main goal is to win the OVC and get into the NCAA tournament. So if they win these next few games and get some momentum going, they definitely have a shot at that.
Indeed. So when they come back home next weekend, we will update you next week on how they do in Tennessee. But then when they come home next weekend, you definitely want to get out there and support the Colonels soccer team so that we can try to help them accomplish that goal of winning the OVC. Moving forward, also in season right now, volleyball. Coach Duncan's last season. It's not been the season she's wanted so far, I'm sure. The record, I don't think the record reflects how the potential and the skill of this team, but the record's not looking good, Zach.
It's not. They're 3-13 right now, 0-7 on the road, which is tough, but they're 2-0 at home, so that's a good positive for them. And coming up this week, they have Friday, they have Tennessee State. They're playing in Nashville for that game, and then they'll be in Belmont on Saturday. So 2 road games, 2 OVC games, definitely games to watch out for.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The Colonels are 2-2 in OVC play right now. They opened up 2-0, but then dropped to both in-state rivals, Morehead and Murray State. Dropped both of those games. Both were on the road, but definitely, like you said, some games in Tennessee before coming back home to play next Thursday at home against Tennessee Martin. So the record, that 3-13, doesn't sound good at all. It doesn't. It's you think 3-13, wow, they're just not a good team. But like we said, 2-2 in OVC play, definitely some potential for OVC. Like we said, early season they were playing, ranked opponents, playing in invitationals around the country, Penn State, Mexico, Cincinnati, playing teams like Xavier, University of Cincinnati, Penn State, who was ranked number 6 in the country, University of New Mexico. So there were some tough opponents early on. I think it prepared the team to compete in OVC play. Right now, 2-2, so a lot of OVC play left, and hopefully we can get some momentum and compete for an OVC championship. Obviously, as Colonels, we want to win the OVC in every sport.
Oh, yeah,
so,
definitely.
Hopefully, volleyball team can pull out some big ones down in Tennessee, down in Nashville. One of those is a conference game. Actually, they both are. Both are OVC games, OVC matches. So pull out both of those and then come home and get some momentum moving into the meat of the OVC schedule.
We do. Our last 4 games are home games, and all OVC games. So those will be great games to watch, and hopefully they'll get some good momentum, get some more wins on the record. So
Those last home games, as you referenced, are in November. The OVC tournament for volleyball starts on November 15th. So getting into the meat of the schedule right now, a little over a month left in the season. So some big games for OVC play, and definitely want to get wins and get a good seeding in that OVC tournament. So we can try to win that and qualify for the NCAA tournament and send Coach Duncan out with that accomplishment. Also, we have softball, fall ball wrapping up, and the team has looked good, really good.
They have, yes, they have. They have won the past, 5 games, and it's looked really well. They beat University of Louisville 5-4 in September. They beat UAK on September 28th, 15-8, which is a big win there. And then they had a few more games like Cumberland's. They beat them 10-0, and then they beat Lakeland Junior College in a doubleheader 6-0 in both games.
Indeed, and as you said, University of Louisville, that win 5-4. University of Louisville is the team's only loss in fall ball. So, University of Louisville, that's a bigger program, more resources. They usually tend to get better athletes. So the softball team's looking good. They're really looking good. This fall ball is just kind of some exhibitions, see where the team is, so they can make corrections before the season starts in the spring. But it's definitely looked promising so far. 1 game left it's actually a doubleheader, excuse me. That will be it's home game this Sunday against Georgetown College. For those softball fans that haven't made it to a game, you got one more opportunity before spring. So October 7th, this Sunday at 1 p.m., it will be a doubleheader here in Richmond at Gertrude Hood Field against Georgetown College. So get out there and support the Colonels, 1 p.m. on Sunday. Get you some softball. Get your softball fix, softball fans, because it'll be gone after Sunday, and you'll have to wait until spring before you can watch another game. So that, I believe, wraps up just about everything. Colonel Nation, we've got all of the Colonel sports taken care of. There's some other sports going on as of now. We got some golf and stuff going on like that. They're trying to get things going, get into full swing, if you will, moving forward. Colonel Nation, it's looking good. It's looking good in Colonel Nation. We've got some potential to compete for OVC across the board.
Definitely, yep. It's looked good so far. So go out and support them.
Yeah, get out and support those Colonels. Like we said, games to support this weekend. We have football, obviously, 4 p.m. That's a big one. Get out there early, and as Coach says, gets the mojo going, get all juiced up, and that tailgating lot, as he likes to say, and then get into the game and support those Colonels. And then we also have softball on Sunday at 1 p.m., and that the volleyball and soccer are both on the road. So get out there and support football and softball this weekend at home. And that make sure you get out there and support. So moving forward, let's talk about some pro sports, Zach. NFL, kind of getting into the meat of the season. They're getting things going. Early season jitters and game planning. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we don't have. That kind of stuff's kind of getting worked out now. There's 2 undefeated teams left. The Rams and the Chiefs, both still undefeated. Those are the only 2. The Dolphins they lost their first game. It was a blowout, if you will. The Patriots handed it to the Dolphins this past weekend. So we had some big stuff going. That was one of the big takeaways. A lot of people were writing the Patriots off. They made it to the Super Bowl last year, and people were, this team's they're not the same team. And then the Dolphins, division rival, undefeated, in Foxborough, down there in New England. And New England said, you know what, don't write us off yet. We still have Belichick as coach and Tom Brady at quarterback. So I don't know what you thought this was, but 38-7 against an undefeated team said that, hey, don't write us off yet. We're still a playoff contender. So you had that. Just kind of a recap of the games. The Rams, stayed undefeated, winning Thursday night against the Vikings, 38-31. My beloved Falcons lost another heartbreaker, 37-36 to to the Bengals. I know there's a lot of Bengals fans in this area. Cincinnati, the kind of the closest team, so I'm sure that a lot of Bengals fans out there ready to give it to me about my Falcons. And you know what? It looks like right now we just can't pull out the close games. So the Falcons just can't pull them out. Some other games, you had Packers beating the Bills, Cowboys over the Lions, Bears, a huge win over the Buccaneers in that one. You also Jaguars over the Jets, Raiders over the Browns in overtime. These Browns.
Yeah.
These
they gave
Browns.
them a good shot in that game. Yeah.
It's the Browns have one win on the season, but I feel like they've been there in every game. Like this Browns team could honestly be undefeated right now. And I know Cleveland fans are hopeful because we're there. In every game, the Cleveland fans are saying, we're there. We have a chance to win the game. We're just not pulling it out. If they can start to pull these games out, this Browns team looks dangerous. I'm a diehard Bulldogs fan. My boy Nick Chubb went out there, got not only his first career NFL touchdown, got his second career NFL touchdown, had 3 carries for over 100 yards, 2 TDs. My boy Chubb put on a show. Still didn't pull it out, but these Browns fans definitely have a lot to look forward to moving forward. A lot of young talent, and they're there in the game, Zach. They're there.
That's true, yeah. And that game for the Raiders, that was their head coach Gruden's first win as head coach, so that was a good momentum builder for him. And that was a good game, though, overall. Yeah, 45-42.
Right. Was probably one of the best games to watch in this last weekend's games. Obviously, the Bengals over the Falcons, 37-36. That's another good one. Cowboys over Lions, 26-24. And then the Texans beat the Colts, 37-34. So there were some close games if you missed out on those. Also, another one, the Chargers barely inching out the 49ers, 29-27. And then, of course, the Monday night game, Chiefs over Broncos. That was a good one, too, with the Chiefs winning 27-23. So moving forward into this weekend, Thursday night football tonight, you have the Colts against the Patriots. Other than the Patriots' big win over the Dolphins, neither team has really impressed much. So we'll see how that one goes. On paper, the Patriots look like the better team. So
and it's in Foxborough as well. So definitely a tough environment to win in for the Colts. So that'll be a good game Thursday night.
Indeed. The other games, the Titans' defense has looked impressive. They go to the Bills this weekend. Should be able to get that one. My beloved Falcons play at the Steelers. Neither team has really looked great. I know that I believe it was Sports Illustrated that picked the Super Bowl to be the Falcons beating the Steelers in the Super Bowl. So neither team has really looked great. So we'll see how that one goes this weekend. Dolphins and Bengals, both 3-1. That one in Cincinnati. Good game there. Have Ravens at Browns. The Jaguars and Chiefs. That one should be a good game there. The Chiefs 4-0. Jaguars 3-1 with their only loss being to the Titans in a defensive slugfest. I know last year the Jaguars had the top defense in the league, so we'll see if they can continue that. They've looked good this season, so should be a good game there. Any other games you see that jump out, Zach, as ones that people might not want to miss?
Cowboys and Texans. That'll be a good game there. In-state game there, being Houston. Deshaun Watson, good player to watch for so far this year. He's thrown for 7 touchdowns and over 1,000 yards. So definitely a good game on Sunday.
And that is the Sunday night game for those that don't know. So it'll be on NBC at 8:20 p.m. Sunday night. Rams, like I said, undefeated. They looked great last season before Goff went down. So they're continuing that momentum, looking like a contender, high-powered offense. So they play at the Seahawks.
Seahawks, yeah. 2-2 Seahawks.
So should be a winnable game for them, but it's a division rivalry game there, so you never know how those go. And then Monday Night Football, of course, we have the Redskins at the Saints for Monday Night Football. Might be another good game there. Also, in pro sports, it is officially October, and any baseball fan out there knows what that means. It's postseason time. It's when the games matter. A lot of sports fans, not baseball fans, because baseball fans might get a little mad if I say this, but sports fans in general sports fans usually kind of get lulled to sleep during the summer with baseball. These games, they don't really matter much, but now you're down to the games that matter. It is officially October, which means the games are exciting, the games matter, everything's on the line. Toeing the plate, trying to get those home runs that really count. So just kind of recap for those that haven't been paying attention. The season came down to the wire itself. There were 2 National League divisions that had to go to a single tiebreaker game with heavy playoff implications in those games. One of those games was the National League Central. The winner of that game got home field advantage throughout the National League playoffs. Loser went to the wild card. So you play one game, winner gets to play at home, entire playoffs. Loser has to play one more game just to stay alive. So in that game, you had the Brewers beating the Cubs 3-1. Brewers got the 1 seed. Cubs went to the wild card, and then actually lost.
They did, yeah.
To the Rockies in the wild card. Now the Rockies were also in a division tiebreaker with the Dodgers for the National League West. That game was for the 2 seed. So you had the top 2 seeds in the National League playing in a tiebreaker game. Winners get 1 and 2 seed. Losers go to the wild card. Dodgers beat the Brewers 5-2 in that tiebreaker. Those were both on Monday. Cubs and Rockies go to the wild card. Rockies win 2-1 in 13 innings. So extra innings game. Like I said, games are exciting now. It's October.
It is, yeah.
That wild card game, it was, win or go home at that point. The tiebreaker games were win, get a better seed, lose, go to the wild card. But wild card game, it's win or go home. And Rockies won, Cubs went home. So it had that. We have some games now. Now you get into the Divisional League after the American League had their wild card game as well. The Yankees won that one 7-2. Yankees have been impressive all season, so kind of expected that to happen. Got the National League Division Series starts today. What games do we have on the radar for today, Zach?
We got Rockies and Brewers and the Braves and Dodgers. It's both really good games there.
Yeah. A perennial Atlanta fan, everything Atlanta, so obviously I'm going to be rooting for my Braves. Last year, the Braves were one of the worst teams in all of Major League Baseball. So this season, I was really excited to see the Braves performing well, making the playoffs. Got the 3 seed, so the lowest divisional champion seed have to go play at the Dodgers. Dodgers have home field advantage in this series, so 2 there before the Braves will be able to play in that new stadium. It's been open for a couple years now, but before the first playoff game in that new stadium gets played, got to go to the Dodgers a couple times first. But that, like you said, those start today. Braves at Dodgers, Rockies at Brewers. It starts today. Then tomorrow we have the American League Divisional Series getting underway, as well as Game 2 of the National League. So I want to talk about the American League. What do we have on store tomorrow?
We have Yankees and Red Sox, big rivalry there. So I know everybody in New York and Boston will be at the game or watching it for sure. And then you got the Indians and Astros. So both really good games, and it'll be interesting game ones there.
Yeah, and this the American League, all 4 of these teams have looked good all season. Especially, the Astros have impressed. The Indians, being the 4 seed, the 3 seed. They had the worst regular season record out of the 4, but even them looked impressive. And this Red Sox and Yankees series is going to be electric. Yep. I mean, this is 2 fan bases that despise each other. The Boston-New York rivalry. This one goes back the test of time throughout all of baseball. The Yankees and the Red Sox has always been a rivalry that these fan bases just don't like each other. And a while ago, this was the way it was. When you had the Red Sox and the Yankees both performing well, they were both at the top of the league. Playoff series came down to them 2, and you have it here again. This series is going to be electric, Zach. It's definitely going to be one to watch. I would even go out to say you might not want to miss a game. This one might go to 7, and all 7 be tight. So definitely What's the time on that first game tomorrow, Zach? Do you have that?
1 second.
Let's see here if we can get that up. 1 second here.
It is at 7:32
Yeah,
on
so
TBS.
So, baseball does what baseball does. Just for those that want to watch the games today, Braves is at 8:37 p.m. Braves at Dodgers, and then Rockies at Brewers is at 5:07 p.m. Baseball, they start whenever they feel like it. These odd times, who cares? They do what they like. So you have that, and then, like we said, tomorrow, Friday, October 5th at 2:05 p.m., Indians at Astros series kicks off, and then the last opening game of the divisional series is that Yankees at Red Sox, 7:32 p.m. Friday. That will be the last Game 1 start time of the MLB playoffs. Definitely don't want to miss that. I feel like this series is going to be electric, and the winner of this series may be the team that goes to the World Series from the American League. So definitely want to watch that. So that's going to wrap up our pro sports segment, and that'll be it for the pro sports here on the Epic Sports Podcast. In just a second, we will be right here with college sports on the Epic Sports Podcast. All right, sports fans, welcome back to the Epic Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Taylor, along with my co-host,
Zach Combest.
And Zach, it's the segment that I feel we get the most excited about. As college students, we pay attention to college football. Not only EKU, of course, we want them to win, but we're all fans of a FBS team. The playoff, 4-team playoff. We all have a team that we like. Zach's favorite team is Louisville. Not looking so good. I'm a Georgia fan, and we're up there competing for the playoff. But I feel like this is probably the segment we get the most excited to talk about. So, first and foremost, let's talk about Clemson. You had Clemson up there ranked in the top 4. They're still ranked high.
Yep, still 4. Yeah, and they're 5-0 still, yep.
They're still 5-0, but they had some quarterback controversy early on. Didn't know who the starting quarterback would be between Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence, and now it's got more interesting for them. They announced, Dabo Swinney announced that Trevor Lawrence was going to be the starter moving forward. The freshman, Kelly Bryant, a sophomore, started for him last year and got him to the playoff. He announced that Trevor Lawrence would be the starter moving forward. Honestly, watching the games, I didn't see much difference when either quarterback was on the field. Trevor Lawrence looked like he might be a little bit better passer, but in terms of the team being better, they looked about the same with either quarterback. Dabo must have seen something there. Coach Swinney must have seen something there that Lawrence was the better quarterback. He announces him as the starter moving forward, and then Bryant announces that he's transferring. And then what happened over the weekend, Zach?
It was crazy. They barely went against Syracuse, 27-23. That was a close game. I was surprised. But, yeah, with him transferring, kind of shocked everybody in college football. They're like, what's happening now? And it's interesting.
Things got more interesting. Like you said, that game with Syracuse was close. Trevor Lawrence got hurt in the beginning of that game, had a head injury, and didn't play the rest of the game. So Kelly Bryant's not on the sideline anymore. He announced that he was transferring, so they had to go to what at the beginning of the season was the third-string quarterback. He pulled out a close win for him, but now things have become even more interesting down in Clemson, South Carolina. Trevor Lawrence is still the starter. He did pass the concussion protocol. They announced that Lawrence would be able to play against Wake Forest this weekend, but because of Bryant transferring, they already had Hunter Renfrow, the receiver, as in the quarterback lineup. He was already in the rotation. He was like number 4. He now moves up to number 3, and then Dabo announced that not only is Renfrow in the quarterback rotation, probably going to be third string, but on Wednesday, Dabo Swinney told the media that Ben Batson and punter Will Spears are getting looks. So the punter, not only is he going to be kicking balls, but he might be throwing balls down there in Clemson. You have a receiver and possibly a punter in the quarterback rotation down there at Clemson. So Clemson, they've looked like a good team outside of the Syracuse game. Of course, you know, they didn't have their starting quarterback, either one. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously Brian has moved on. Don't know where he's transferring to yet. But if Lawrence does get injured, it's a scary situation down there in Clemson because the second-string quarterback didn't look great, and then you got to move to a receiver or possibly a punter if something were to happen to him. So it's a scary situation down there in Clemson. If you're a Clemson fan, you hope and pray that Lawrence stays healthy now because he's your playoff hopes. I feel like if something were to happen to him, Clemson's probably not going to be able to make that playoff because they're probably going to lose a couple games that they shouldn't if he were in. So, interesting situation down there in Clemson. As we usually do, we'll kind of move through the conferences and see where things are. As you said, Clemson, number 4. Ohio State, of course, jumped above them in the rankings. Clemson was number 3. Now Ohio State is there with a huge win in that exciting game they had against Penn State. Just to recap that one, it was a 1-point win. Yeah. That was my game of the week for everyone, and if you missed out, hey, I told you to watch. So you should have listened when I said to not miss out on that game because it was an exciting game, a great college football game to watch. Also picked in game of the week was the Notre Dame and Stanford. You had that one picked for your game of the week, and how did that one shake out for us, Zach? It wasn't as exciting. It was exciting early on. It actually ended 38-17. Notre Dame just to prove to be a far superior team at home. So,
and I feel like too, Stanford had a tough time too traveling to Notre Dame and having to play them as well. Yeah, they're both undefeated at that time. So definitely came down to a superior team in Notre Dame, and they've looked strong. Yeah.
Yeah, not to poke fun at my co-host here for anybody that's listening. I'm not saying, you picked a game of the week that didn't end up being very good. Not that kind of thing. Just giving recaps on what we did pick. And like you said, it was a long trip for Stanford. You're going from California to Indiana. It's a long trip for a college football game. These are college kids. It wasn't like they could leave and come and stay all week. They still had to go to college class and stuff. So, we're all college students. We know how it works. You still have to go to class. They probably had some midterms and stuff too, and then had to travel all the way to Indiana and play a game. So it was a long trip. It was exciting early on, and then Notre Dame kind of flexed their muscle and pulled away late. So Notre Dame, definitely outside of the conferences, Notre Dame looks like the serious playoff contender outside of the Power 5 conferences. So they're definitely up there at number 6. Looking like a solid team to compete for that playoff. So we'll kind of move through ACC. What's it look like, ACC, especially your Louisville Cardinals?
It's rough. It is rough. So we lost to Florida State 28-24. Louisville had the lead pretty much the whole game and just lost it late. And it was offensively, the Cardinals did pretty well, but defensively they just couldn't hold off Florida State, especially their pass game. And it was rough. So now, so lost the past 2 games, and now we have Georgia Tech coming into town on Friday.
Yeah, so that Georgia Tech offense, me being a Georgia fan, there is the name for the rivalry game is Good, Clean, Old-Fashioned Hate. And that is a good way to sum it up because there is a distinct hatred for Georgia Tech football. That offense, that triple option offense, it's a tough one. You don't play too many teams that use it anymore, but Georgia Tech, their coach is really good at it. He knows what he's doing with that triple option. It's going to be a test for that Louisville defense to see if they can contain that triple option. Mm-hmm. Now, if you can contain Georgia Tech's triple option, you kind of got them stopped because they don't really have much else to bank on. They're not a great passing team, and they're not going to run the ball straight up. They're going to use that triple option. So,
and both the teams have pretty equal stats. They're both 0-2 in the conference, 2-3 on the season, and their quarterbacks are around like more Marshall for Georgia Tech, he has 542 yards. Juwan Pass for Louisville has 760 yards this season. And then same with the rushing attack is about equal. So it'll be a good game for both teams, and it'll really determine who is going to be better in the ACC and who can at least give Clemson some competition.
Indeed. Actually, before we jump into going through the conferences, we got to give some time. I know you as a Louisville fan don't like it. We got to give some time and talk about the other in-state FBS school that is on the upswing for sure. The Kentucky Wildcats, now up to number 13 in the country, ranked 13th. They haven't been ranked this high in a long time. Yep. They are now 5-0 on the season. Defeated Mississippi State, got another big win at home against South Carolina, 24-10. A big game this weekend for the Wildcats at Texas A&M. Texas A&M was a team that was ranked high early on until Alabama smacked them in the mouth a few weeks ago. So, big game for the Kentucky Wildcats to see this. Just looking through their schedule, outside of this game and then when Georgia comes to Lexington, the rest of the season looks very winnable for this Kentucky team. So, this game, if they can go to College Station, Texas, and pull out this game against Texas A&M, the Wildcats could potentially go 11-1, and just realistically speaking, 11-1. Obviously every game there's potential for stuff to happen. As a Georgia fan, I would love to say it's not going to happen. They're not going to beat us, but you have to be realistic and say that every game has stuff to happen. But you look at it realistically from a standpoint, and just by if things go the way they should, looking at teams' talent level, if Kentucky pulls this game out Saturday at College Station, there's a realistic chance that this Kentucky team, not only a chance, but a forecast for this Kentucky team to go 11-1, and wow, what a season that'll be for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Definitely will
be. If they manage to do that, it's going to be the best bowl game that Kentucky fans have ever had a chance to go to. I'm quite sure, any Kentucky fan that's our age anyway, it's been, it's not going to be the Music City Bowl if you go 11-1. So they're going to get a really good bowl game if they continue playing at this level and manage to beat Texas A&M on this weekend. So congratulations to the Kentucky Wildcats and that fan base. It's a fan base that as a Georgia fan, you're in the SEC East, you play each other every year. And Kentucky fans are usually that fan base that says, well, wait till next year. Mm-hmm. Wait till next year. Wait till next year. We're going to do better next year. And they finally got next year. This Kentucky football team is looking like they're a serious contender. I don't know if I don't think they're quite at the level to compete for the SEC, but I seriously see them finishing second in the East, and it's been a while for Kentucky to do that. So definitely give shout out to the number 13 ranked Kentucky Wildcats. Zach, you're smiling at me, but I know inside you're like, I hate what you're talking about right now.
They're looking good, though. I agree. Benny Snell, though, for them has led that team. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't be undefeated right now. Yeah. So I'll give them credit. They're pretty good.
Yeah, he is Benny Snell out of the great state of Georgia. He is a solid running back. Definitely one of the top running backs in the SEC. I know Kentucky fans will tell you he's the best running back in the country. Give him the Heisman.
Everybody's saying.
And I have to tell him to slow down. Heisman winners are usually, on teams that are competing for the playoff. And Kentucky fans are going to say, well, we're competing for it right now. We're moving up. If Kentucky finishes 11-1, then I don't doubt a bit that Benny Snell can be in that Heisman conversation because he will be the person that propels them to 11-1, 10-2. That type of season, it's all on Benny Snell's shoulders. So he's definitely capable of being in that conversation. I just think that as of right now, the Heisman looks like it's Tua Tagovailoa's to lose because Alabama's killing people, and Tua's just doing whatever he wants. He's throwing, he's running. He might even, the way Tua looks out there, they might even put in a halfback pass and throw him a touchdown. You never know. So I just think it's his Heisman to lose, and other SEC running backs. Just from what I've seen this season, being a Georgia fan, we have a stable of backs. But honestly, the level that people have been playing at, the only running back I would put above Benny Snell right now is Geis out of LSU. Mm-hmm. So, big season for Benny. I'm happy for the guy, and happy that Kentucky's up there competing. Yeah. It makes games more interesting when the teams are good. So, now that we've talked about the two, there is Western. That's an FBS school, in-state school, but Western hasn't really looked that good. They're not ranked. They came close to beating Louisville, but it's not really been a good season for Western. So here at Eastern, our football team is, it's a different level, FBS and FCS, but our football team, as far as at the level we compete, is performing much better than Western. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Moving through into the conferences now. ACC, as you said, Clemson, even with their quarterback situation, ACC is still theirs to lose. I mean, the only other ranked team you have is Miami in the ACC. You have Virginia Tech as well. After I picked them as a dark horse and they lost to Old Dominion, they did bounce back and get a big win against East. Excuse me. Their last game was canceled, but they did have a big win, bounce back from that, and they did get back into the top 25 at number 24. Mm-hmm. Miami, 17th. They're ranked 17th. They defeated North Carolina 47-10. They're 4-1 on the season. They just, from what I've seen, I don't see them at the same level as Clemson as of right now. Now, things could change. They could get better. They play their rival Florida State this weekend, so could be a good measuring stick game. Florida State, obviously it's a rival game, so you can't put too much emphasis on Miami should blow them out, but Florida State hasn't looked too impressive this season. So,
and plus Florida State came off that win against Louisville, so they have some momentum there, so you never know. They could surprise them. So
it could be. I think that if Miami does lose this game, then wholeheartedly the conference belongs to Clemson until they decide to give it away, because that's what it would come down to. So ACC, it's looking like a one-team race unless somebody can get some talent out of somewhere, make some magic happen. It looks like it's Clemson's to lose at this point. So obviously Clemson goes undefeated, wins the ACC, they're going to be in the playoff. So serious playoff contender there in Clemson. Moving into the next conference, we can go Big Ten, and a barn burner in the Big Ten. Not a high-scoring barn burner, but just an exciting game back and forth that Ohio State and Penn State. Ohio State goes into Death Valley in a whiteout, which is, Penn State for those whiteout games, they have it rocking. It was College Game Day was there. Huge game. Ohio State pulls it out 27-26. Huge win for Ohio State. That obviously puts them in first, moving forward in the division. Now they have the division in their control. Probably winner of the division is probably going to play Wisconsin from the other side. Wisconsin is on the weaker side, if you will, of the Big Ten. Yeah. So Ohio State looking like the serious playoff contender from the Big Ten. Penn State would obviously need Ohio State to lose. In order to get in the playoff, Ohio State would have to win out at this point. Go 11-1. They would probably need Ohio State to lose. Obviously, they would need them to lose 2 games to win their division and get into the title game. But even to make the playoff without playing in the championship, it would take a lot because, the playoff committee puts a lot on those conference championships. So looking like Ohio State versus Wisconsin right now is the way the season's looking. You have any other takes on the Big Ten, Zach?
With that Ohio State team, though, they rallied against Penn State, and I was surprised. I thought Penn State had that game in the bag, and they rallied 2 touchdowns in the last 7 minutes of that game. Really shocked Penn State, I think, especially their fans there, and it was a great game to watch.
Like you said, it was 2 touchdowns. Ohio State was down 13-27. No, excuse me. It was a
12-point deficit they had.
Yeah, 12 point. Yeah, you're right. 12 points. So They were down 12, scored 2 touchdowns to get a 1-point lead. It was 26-14 is what the score is. Yeah, 26-14. Ohio State scores, makes it 26-21. Then they score again, go up 27-26. They go for 2 to try to make it a 3-point game. They got stopped. Then the defense just shut Penn State down. At Penn State, 7 minutes left in the game to make that kind of rally. Definitely said a lot about the character and the talent of this Ohio State team. So definitely a serious playoff contender there. The Big 12, Oklahoma, they dropped a spot from 6th to 7th. Of course, that's Notre Dame jumped up 2 spots. So it wasn't really anything Oklahoma did wrong. After that close game against Army, they did handle Baylor.
They did.
66-33. So it was Dub Nation. Let's double them up. They hammered Baylor the entire game. Oklahoma, outside of that Army game, has looked good, but that Army game is just a question mark. Is Army really that good, or is Oklahoma just not that great playing against subpar teams? Yeah. So Big 12, the Big 12 is an exciting one. It's an exciting conference right now. The Big 12 and the SEC are probably the 2 conferences that you really can't tell, because there's a lot of teams up there. You got Oklahoma from the Big 12, Oklahoma, West Virginia. You have Texas. Then, of course, there's still Oklahoma State in the picture, TCU. Like these, everybody plays everybody, and then the 2 best records play in the conference championship. So this conference is kind of wide open right now.
It is. And Oklahoma plays Texas this weekend. That will really test them and see how good they really are, because their past few games have been pretty easy competition. So Texas 19 seed, and it'll look good. It'll be a good game.
Indeed it will. Like you said, it's a good game. We'll talk about game of the week a little bit later. So that one probably on the radar for that. Also, like we said, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Texas, Oklahoma State, just Big 12 kind of wide open. Colorado even. They're 4-0. So, excuse me, it's
Colorado's in the
Pac-12.
Pac-12.
Yeah,
yep.
excuse me about that. Wrong conference there. But yeah, the Big 12. More of the story. Big 12's wide open. So, a lot of exciting football to watch in the Big 12. Moving forward into the Pac-12, since we talked about Colorado being ranked 21st, you have Oregon 18th. Colorado's still undefeated, playing. They just beat UCLA 38-16. They play Arizona State this weekend. You have Oregon with the 1 loss to Stanford, playing Washington. Big game there. Oregon 18th ranking. Washington still ranked 10th. Their only loss was that opening week game against Auburn. So that game at 3:30, that's actually next weekend, because Oregon has a bye week. So stay tuned for that next weekend. This weekend, Washington plays at UCLA at 7:30. But the Pac-12, Washington's looking like the superior team right now. They've kind of did what they were supposed to against most teams. Arizona State gave them a close game a couple weeks ago, but it's kind of looking like it's their conference to lose. They've already beat Stanford. They play Oregon in 2 weeks. If they can win that one, then the Pac-12 is in complete control for Washington moving forward. But you still have Colorado on the brink. They look like they could compete for it. And then you can never count out Stanford, of course, is 14th, 4-1.
You got some good games in that.
Washington has not played Stanford yet. Let me correct that. I said that Washington has beat Stanford. They have not. They haven't played each other yet. So you still have that game moving forward to look forward to. Stanford beat Oregon. That's the game that's already happened. But Stanford, of course, competing. So there's a handful of teams in the Pac-12 to compete for this conference. And, of course, if you're competing for Power 5, you're competing for a playoff. Obviously, there's only 4 playoff spots. So not every conference champion is going to make it, but it does go a long way if you can have a 1 undefeated or 1 loss season and win one of these Power 5 conferences. It's a good chance. Not a good chance. It's for sure get you in the conversation of the playoff at least. So definitely good matchups to watch for in the Big 12 and the Pac-12 for sure. And moving into my personal favorite, the SEC. I'm gonna let you open up on this one, Zach. What have you seen so far in the SEC? I know it's kind of this region of the nation. SEC's more dominant. So what have you seen?
Definitely, Alabama and Georgia, like always, dominant. I think I think the SEC though. I think Alabama has it in the bag. Just with their quarterback situation, and everything, they're looking strong. But let's see who they have this week.
I have to beg to differ. I have to say, wait till December in that game in Atlanta. That's all I have to say on that one.
But they have like Arkansas coming up, Missouri, Tennessee, winnable games. I think a big test for them will be LSU in November. LSU's number 5, and definitely some good games coming up for them.
Yeah, like you said, there is huge games coming up. So the SEC, obviously Alabama's ranked number 1, Georgia's number 2, LSU's number 5, Auburn's number 8. Those are your 4 teams in competition for the SEC. Watching SEC football, those 4 teams are at a level above the rest of the conference. Mm-hmm. They just look like all 4 of them look like serious playoff contending teams. They obviously LSU beat Auburn by 1. Auburn beat Washington in the opening week. So you have both of them that have played against top 10 competition and proved that they're at that top 10 level. Alabama steamrolling everybody. Georgia kind of doing the same thing, just steamrolling any team that steps onto the field. It's going to be interesting, though, because all 4 of these teams are connected. Alabama still has to play LSU. Alabama still has to play Auburn. LSU and Auburn have played each other, but Georgia also plays at LSU and then plays Auburn at home. So there's a lot of great games still left on the SEC slate. 4 games that are going to be huge for determining the SEC this year. And obviously, unless the SEC champion has 2 or 3 losses, it's almost a guarantee that whoever wins the SEC championship is in the playoff. Just because the level of competition that the SEC has been known for and continues to prove that they're still known for.
Definitely, yeah.
So a lot of huge games to watch. Just kind of top teams in action. Alabama at Arkansas. Probably going to be another blowout. That's going to be another blowout. Arkansas is probably the worst team in the SEC West. So Alabama should steamroll them as well. Georgia plays Vanderbilt at home. That one probably going to be another steamrolling. Vanderbilt is one of those teams you can't really tell. Sometimes they play well against top competitions. Sometimes they come out flat. But it being in Sanford Stadium, it's going to be a night game. Georgia should come out amped up and excited to play in front of the home crowd between the hedges. Be a good game there. Ohio State, Indiana. That one, not really much competition. Clemson playing at Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a team, can't really tell, especially at home. So with the quarterback situation, that one may be one to keep an eye on as well.
Definitely.
LSU is playing at Florida. It is the cross-division rival for them there. That one at 3:30. Florida hasn't looked – they haven't looked impressive. Outside of the game against Tennessee, they haven't really shown much. And LSU has shown that they're competing, not only for the SEC, but they want to compete for the national title. So,
yeah, LSU's run game has been just really good this year. So Florida has their hands full with that.
Yeah, for sure. Notre Dame is playing at Virginia Tech. So, big game there. Big game on the radar. Notre Dame at Virginia Tech. That one's at 8 p.m. So, a night game. Definitely look out for that one. Obviously, Virginia Tech, ACC, they want to put that Old Dominion in the past, and this will be a great way to do it. If they were to come out at home and beat the 6th-ranked Notre Dame team, then that puts them right back in playoff discussion. Even with a loss to Old Dominion, if they were to win out and then defeat Clemson and win the ACC, there's a great chance they could make the playoffs. So, big game to watch there. Oklahoma versus Texas, 6-7. So, your number 6 team, Notre Dame, your number 17, Oklahoma. Big games. Oklahoma versus Texas at 12 p.m. Huge games there. Auburn is playing at Mississippi State. West Virginia is at North Carolina State. That game has actually been That game was actually canceled for some reason. It's not showing me West Virginia's game this season. Do you have that, Zach?
West Virginia is playing Kansas.
Okay, so
12
West
o'clock
Virginia
on Saturday.
West Virginia, Kansas. Kansas is one of those Big 12 teams that they can compete sometimes, some Big 12 games, but they're not really at the same level. So, and then you have the 10th ranked team. Washington is playing at UCLA. So that's your top 10 where they're at this week. So let's get into the predictions, Zach. If the season were to end today, who's your top four? Top four teams and your dark horse.
All right, I have Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. My dark horse is going to be – it's a tough one. They've all been looking really good. I want to say West Virginia. They're 4-0, and I think they could surprise people. Yeah.
That's interesting. So you're going away from the Kentucky pick that you had last week.
I changed Kentucky because you got Georgia, and then they have some tough games coming up, and you never know, the Cardinals might beat them, so it might shock them all.
There's a prediction for you. The Louisville fan, you guys heard it here first. He said, don't count the Cardinals out for you Kentucky fans, giving you firepower for that rivalry game. I know it's not till the last week, but I'm pretty sure it's not the last time you'll hear Zach talk about that. So for myself, my top four, Alabama and Georgia. Obviously, that's stagnant. It's not moving at this point. Number three, last week I had Clemson and LSU. Ohio State's moved up into the top four for me. And then LSU and Notre Dame are both kind of right there. But just because LSU won at Auburn, I'm going to give them the nod. So my top four, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, LSU. Notre Dame still right there. Clemson obviously still right there as well. My dark horse, I'm going to stick with Texas. I know I picked Virginia Tech. They took a terrible loss on the road at Old Dominion. This Texas team, though, looks impressive. I know if there's any Longhorn fans that go to EKU listening to this, they're like, the Longhorns better not lose at Oklahoma, or you're going to have some splaining to do because you picked them against Oklahoma. But this, I gotta stick with Texas right now as my dark horse. And if they do go down to Oklahoma and win that game, that rivalry game,
It'll be a big game.
then I think that puts them in serious playoff conversation. And not only dark horse, but hey, they're kind of the front runner in the Big 12. So definitely big game there. So you have our top four and our dark horse. Where are you going for game of the week, Zach?
Game of the week is going to be Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, in Blacksburg, Virginia. Definitely a big game for them. Virginia Tech's 3-1. Notre Dame's still undefeated 5-0. So I feel like Virginia Tech has a great chance in that game.
So there you have it. Here's a game of the week. Notre Dame, Virginia Tech at 8. So last week we picked games of the week that were on at the same time. So our listeners were probably like, man, what do you want? I can't watch two games at once. Well, you know, this week we're not going to do it to you. This week my game of the week is going to be that Texas-Oklahoma game. You know, I've been high on Texas, so this game is the real deal. It's a rivalry game. You know, they play at the Cotton Bowl. They don't play this game at home because the rivalry's so strong there. It's a neutral field site. They play at the Cotton Bowl. Oklahoma's listed as the home team. Oklahoma is favored by 7. That game is at noon on Fox. So an early game for you. Get you up early to watch some great football. So those of you that want to stay in bed till 3 and then get up and watch football, you might miss out on the best game of the weekend if you do that. You want to get up at noon and watch this game. You know, ESPN has Oklahoma as a 73.3% chance to win this game, but Texas has just looked very impressive. You know, that freshman quarterback already at 1,185 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Obviously, not the numbers Kyler Murray has for Oklahoma, but he's also Oklahoma's steamrolling opponents, and Texas has played against some good teams.
They have, yeah.
So it's been competitive games, and this freshman has showed that he's not going to buckle under the pressure. So definitely a big game there. Make sure you tune in. Noon on Fox. to check out that Texas and Oklahoma, as well as Zach told you, at 8 p.m. on ABC to check out that Notre Dame at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. The only other game with two ranked opponents is going to be the LSU at Florida. LSU's favored by 2.5. That one's at 3:30. So if you want to watch all three of those, you got a game at noon to watch. Watch that one at 3:30, and then tune in at 8. The Florida and LSU, of course, will be on CBS with it being SEC. So full slate of games for you on Saturday.
Definitely.
Make sure you tune in and watch college football. Keep up with it so you can know who's going to make this playoff. The Who's In commercials will be starting soon, I'm sure. So I believe that's it's going to wrap it up. We've talked Colonel Nation. We've talked pro sports. We've talked college football. Anything else you want to give our listeners out there, Zach?
Great weekend for sports, especially for EKU football. Go check them out on Saturday, and then watch a bunch of college football games. There's tons on. Yep.
Yeah, indeed there is tons on. Like we said, we obviously want you out there supporting the Colonels. Get behind them. It's just going to make all of the students here experience much better if the football team is competing for the OVC. So get out there and support them. If you have to, go to the tailgate and watch that Texas-Oklahoma game at the tailgate. Go support the Colonels, and then go home and watch some Notre Dame-Stanford. And then come back on Sunday and support the softball team as they close out fall ball. Game. So it's going to wrap it up here on the Epic Sports Podcast. Again, I am Jordan.
And I'm Zach.
And we'll see you. Well, we won't see you, but you'll hear from us next week.